Hello, and welcome back. Today we continue with Stranger Things, Season 1, Episode 6. Get comfortable and enjoy a deeper dive into the story. The story continues in the small town of Hawkins, where fear and tension have now become part of everyday life. On the surface, the town still looks calm and ordinary, with quiet streets and familiar houses. However, beneath this calm appearance, people feel nervous and uneasy, as if something dark is slowly spreading through the town. Will Byers is back home, but he is far from being safe or healthy. He lies in his bed and tries to rest, yet his body feels weak, cold, and uncomfortable. His breathing is slow and heavy, and his skin looks pale. Joyce sits close to him, watching every small movement and listening to every breath he takes. She is grateful that her son is alive, but deep inside, she feels that the danger has not truly ended. Joyce gently asks, "Are you feeling okay, Will?" Will opens his eyes slowly and answers, "I think so, Mom, but I feel strange." His voice sounds tired and distant, and Joyce feels fear tighten in her chest. Joyce brings him water and helps him sit up carefully. She touches his forehead and studies his face, looking for any sign of fever or pain. She wants to believe that everything will soon return to normal. However, in her heart, she knows that something is still very wrong. At the same time, Mike, Dustin, and Lucas sit together in silence. The room feels heavy, filled with sadness and guilt. They cannot stop thinking about Eleven. They miss her deeply and worry about where she might be. They wonder if she is alone, hurt, or even alive. Mike finally speaks and says quietly, "This happened because of me." Dustin immediately shakes his head and replies, "No, Mike, it is not your fault." Lucas stays silent because he feels confused and ashamed about his own actions. The boys remember the last moment they saw Eleven. They remember her serious face, her fear, and her quiet strength. They remember how she looked at them before she disappeared. These memories make their sadness even stronger. Meanwhile, Hopper continues his investigation with growing determination. He knows that the laboratory is hiding dangerous secrets. The polite smiles and calm voices of the lab workers only increase his anger. He decides that he will not stop until he uncovers the truth. Hopper returns to the laboratory and asks more questions. The people there answer carefully, choosing their words. Their answers sound polite but empty. Hopper watches their faces closely and notices their cold expressions. This only confirms his suspicions. Hopper thinks to himself, "They are lying, and they know exactly what they are doing." He feels certain that the lab is responsible for the strange events in Hawkins. From that moment on, he decides to keep a close eye on them. Back at school, the boys try to behave normally. They walk through the hallways and sit quietly in their classrooms. Other students stare at them and whisper behind their backs. Everyone knows about Will and the strange things happening in town. During class, Mike stares at his desk and ignores the teacher's voice. His thoughts are completely focused on Eleven. He imagines her alone somewhere, scared and helpless. The pain in his chest grows stronger. Later that day, Lucas visits the arcade. The lights are bright, and the sounds of the games fill the room. Max plays a game, trying to forget her own problems. Lucas watches her from a distance, feeling nervous and unsure. Dustin notices Lucas and says with a small smile, "You should talk to her." Lucas answers honestly, "I do not know how." Suddenly, something terrifying happens at the Byers house. Will feels a rush of cold air around him. His chest tightens, and he begins to cough violently. Joyce hears the sound and runs into the room in panic. Joyce cries out, "Will, what is happening?" Will tries to answer, but he cannot speak. His eyes fill with fear, and his face turns pale. The room grows colder, and the lights begin to flicker. Joyce feels her heart race. She remembers the strange lights and the moving wall from before. She knows that the creature from the other world is near. Will suddenly coughs up something dark and slimy. Joyce screams and steps back in horror. She cannot understand how this is possible. Joyce immediately calls Hopper. Her voice shakes as she explains, "Something is wrong with Will again." Hopper listens carefully and realizes that the danger has returned. Hopper arrives at the house quickly. He looks at Will and sees the terror in his eyes. He understands that Will is still connected to the other world. Hopper speaks calmly and says, "We need to keep him safe." Joyce answers firmly, "I will never leave him alone." Meanwhile, the boys begin to believe that 11 might still be alive. Mike says with hope, "She is strong. She survived before." Dustin agrees and adds, "We should try to find her." The boys decide to return to the place where they last saw 11. They take their bikes and ride through the quiet streets. The road feels long, and the silence around them feels heavy. As they ride, they talk about 11. They remember how she slowly learned new words. They remember her smile when she felt safe and accepted. These memories give them strength and hope. Back at the Byers' house, Will's condition becomes worse. The temperature drops again, and the walls feel cold to the touch. Joyce holds Will's hand and speaks softly, trying to calm him. Joyce whispers, "You are safe here with me." Will looks at her with fear and says quietly, "It is coming back." The lights flicker again, and the room darkens. Hopper takes out his gun and positions himself between Will and the wall. He prepares himself for what might come next. Hopper says firmly, "Stay behind me." Joyce holds Will tightly and refuses to move. The wall slowly begins to change. A dark shape appears beneath the surface. Joyce feels terror, but she stays strong for her son. At the same time, the boys reach an area near the laboratory. They hide their bikes and move quietly. They know they are close to something dangerous. Mike whispers, "We need to be careful." Dustin listens closely and replies, "I hear voices." They see guards, lights, and security fences. They realize that the laboratory is watching everything. They begin to understand how deeply 11 is connected to this place. Back at the house, the presence suddenly disappears. The room warms up again. Will collapses into sleep from exhaustion. Joyce cries softly and holds her son close. Hopper watches them, feeling powerless. He knows this nightmare is far from over. Later that night, the boys sit together and talk quietly. They promise each other that they will not give up. They promise that they will find 11 and bring her back. Mike says with determination, "She saved us. Now it is our turn to save her." The boys agree and feel united once again. This was the end of episode 6 of season 1. The mystery grows darker and the danger becomes stronger. In the next episode, the story will continue. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.